Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in football. Mark Richt tells us what he said to the kicker before that game winner last week. Also, will the Falcons face Marcus Mariota or not? Plus, injuries, fantasy football, and Jeffrey the Ed Schechter picks against the spread.
Play to Win is being brought to you by the Southeastern Nissan dealers, Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, and SD Services.
Welcome to Play to Win with former Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Fantasy Football League previews with Adam Brown, game analysis with Nikki Williams, Play to Win expert Jeffrey the Ed Schechter, medical and injury update with Dr. Andrew Lalaji, and your host, Atlanta sports veteran Bob Neal. Today's SEC report is being brought to you by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
All right, Jeffrey, Nikki, and Chuck and I welcome you to Football's Play to Win. We're going to get right into it as usual on our SEC report. Let's take a look at the slate of games in the Southeastern Conference this week. Auburn, Arkansas ought to be interesting. Tennessee, Alabama, we're going to break that one down for you. Missouri and Vanderbilt, will anybody score in that game? Western Kentucky at LSU, A&M, Mississippi also will break down. And Kentucky plays at Mississippi State. Both of them have good records, but most people are thinking Mississippi State will win because that game's in Starkville. We're going to start with Texas A&M and Ole Miss. And Chuck, Texas A&M is at Ole Miss, but you're saying Ole Miss, kind of a caveat here, look out because of their defensive woes?
Well, they're at a disadvantage, Bob. The best player in college football on the D-line is Robert Kendichi, a defensive tackle, defensive end at Ole Miss. He had a concussion last week. He's a little nicked up, not sure quite if he's going to be available. Big loss for Ole Miss. To me, that is the big story of the game. This Texas A&M team is ferocious offensively when they get rolling.
And a lot of people like both quarterbacks for these two teams. Nikki, break that down for us.
Well, these are two teams that live and die on their quarterback play, Bob. Both of these guys are coming off of losses. Kyle Allen threw 3 picks last week, all of which were returned for touchdowns. Chad Kelly's numbers didn't look that bad against Memphis, but he still threw 2 interceptions. Neither of these teams have a running game, so it's really all about the quarterbacks.
Kyle was terrible. Kyle Allen was terrible. I picked him last week. He was terrible. I was sitting at home, Bob, embarrassed. Like, man, I'm coming back next week on the show. I just pumped it up with Domino, but again, I felt it at home, but Kyle let me down last week, but hopefully this week he'll step up.
Well, Kyle might step up because of the injuries on that Ole Miss defense for sure. Jeffrey, who's going to win the game? Texas A&M at Ole Miss.
Kyle's going to come back this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mississippi is totally overrated. Take the points with Texas A&M.
All right, it's time for a college football showdown, and this is a beauty. Every year in November, of course, Tennessee and Alabama, our college football showdown brought to you by the Georgia Lottery in October. I said November, in October, of course. And the big game is at Tuscaloosa this year. And Nikki, I want you to talk a little bit about that vaunted Alabama running game and big, strong Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, everyone knows Alabama needs Derrick Henry and a successful running game, but what they really need is their center, Ryan Kelly, to come back. After he left the A&M game with a concussion, that entire interior O-line just fell apart. So if they don't have Ryan Kelly back, it could be a long day offensively for Alabama.
There you go, the middle of the line, that offensive line. What does Tennessee have to do? What is one key if you were to point it out?
They got to man up. Tennessee's got to man up. Simple as that. Alabama has been punking Tennessee for what? I can't even count the streak right now.
A long time, yeah.
They got to step up, hit Alabama in the mouth, and say, guess what? We're not just some stepping stone. That's how it is. At this point, you can learn technique, you can learn all that other stuff, but until you fight fire with the big boys and hit that bully in the mouth, he's going to keep taking your lunch money.
Shuts on
and
one.
The bully is
He's going to take your lunch money. That's the bully, Alabama.
The bully's at home. He's going to invite you in his home and take your lunch money. Jeffrey, who's going to win the game? And will they beat the spread?
Well, Bama's on a roll. When they're on a roll, they're tough to beat. I like Tennessee as a team, but they're still not in Bama's class. Give the 15.5 with Bama.
All right, that's it. In a moment, we're going to come back and talk about the battered Bulldogs on a bye week, which is easy for you to say on Play to Win.
Before we bought the Toyota RAV4, we searched and searched.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
But the only one for us was the RAV4.
Yep.
I guess you just know the best when you see it.
Yep.
Nope.
The 2015 Toyota RAV4. The best choice is the only choice. Get a low 0% APR for 60 months on a new 2015 Toyota RAV4. Toyota, let's go places.
It's not limited edition, not cast conditioned, not exclusive or extra, nor is it private reserve. It is, however, a rare breed. American lager from an American-owned, family-operated brewery. Since 1829, we kept it so simple, we're still in fashion. Fancy that. America's oldest brewery, Yingling.
Tom, let's go. We're waiting for you outside.
Sorry, Larry. Just didn't feel the spark today. So many people that should have won but didn't play.
But this is Fantasy 5. It's even better now. There's larger starting jackpots.
And that new cash match instant win. Thanks for the pep talk.
You have got to stop bringing work home with you.
Point taken. Let's go give someone money.
You can't win if you don't play. So play the new and improved Fantasy 5, now with bigger starting jackpots and cash match.
The Nissan Rogue. With blind spot warning, a round view monitor, and intuitive all-wheel drive that knows just when to kick in. Choose the 2015 Nissan Rogue, just $199 per month, or save up to $1,250. Nissan, innovation that excites. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
Hometown Team Report is being brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, bringing a higher order of pizza to Atlanta for 40 years.
All right, hometown team report. We're going to start with Georgia Tech. Last time they lost 5 games in a row, which is the length of their current losing streak, was what, back in the early mid-90s, 1994?
Yep.
Bill Lewis was there. And now, number 9, Florida State comes into town. And Tech's on a 5-game losing streak. Morale's got to be an issue.
Right.
As a former player, how is Tech going to handle that?
Well, the first thing you do at Tech, Bob, you got to stick together. The number one rule, everybody in that program got to stick together. All the jackets, they got to stick together. Got to improve your practice habits. Anytime you get in a streak like this, you got to go back to the basics. Then they got to add in effort and all the little things. They got to stop making the mistakes that keep costing them in the games, Bob. Simple as that's all you can do when you're losing like that.
Exactly, and they're saying
Right.
they hope that Marcus Marshall can prove to be effective as a V-back.
You know what she said? Just don't mess up.
Just don't mess up. And give it to Marcus Marshall. Let's talk a little bit about, speaking of giving the ball to somebody, there was a hoax out this week that it made its way to Bleacher Report. Now it's been debunked, that Dalvin Cook for Florida State, their great running back, had a knee injury. Not true. He did have some hamstring issues. What about Dalvin Cook and how effective he could be on Saturday?
955 yards on the season. He's just 287 yards shy of breaking Warwick Dunn's single-season school record. I don't think he's going to come close to I think he'll come close to breaking the record, but he's not going to quite break it because Georgia Tech's run defense is ranked 84th in the country.
Yeah.
So he's not going to quite.
Not awful, but not good either.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the game against the spread?
He may get 200 of those yards this week.
Yeah.
Tech has no defense. Florida State's going to go up and down the field. Give the 6. The Seminoles should just give them a beat.
All right, and the University of Georgia on a bye week, so we know Georgia's not going to lose this week. As they have a bye getting ready for Florida. Last week.
They will score as many touchdowns as last week, though.
They will. Last week, no touchdowns in the game against Missouri. However, the Georgia kicker kicked the game winner, and some of you may have seen this on television. Mark Richt went to the kicker right before he made that important kick and said something to them, and we asked Mark Richt what he said to Marshall Morgan.
I told him that I loved him no matter what happened, and I was serious. It's a lot of pressure for a young man, and sometimes guys think that their worth is whether they perform well or not, but that's really not the fact of the matter. Their worth is that they're an awesome human being, and we love them, and they're doing their best, and I'm just thankful he made the kick.
All right, I want to come back to Mark Richt in just a moment. First of all, though, during the bye week, one of the things that Georgia's doing is licking their wounds, trying to get well from some injuries, because there are quite a few, not all of them serious, but all of them are serious in terms of if these players can't play to full speed, particularly Sony Michel in that game against Missouri. He played with a groin strain in the center down at the bottom. Brandon Cublano had an ankle. He's supposed to be back. The rest will help. I want to ask both of you about Mark Richt and what he said to that kicker and the kind of coaching he does there. That shows a Mark Richt who's a player's guy.
Well, I like what Mark Richt did, Bob. In my experience being a defensive line coach at the University of Tennessee, you got to be able to show your players passion, but then you also got to be humble enough to have compassion in situations like that, because they are kids, they're on scholarships, and they are playing for big, important things. But at the end of the day, you don't want their worth to be defined in wins and losses when they can crush a kid after his football career.
Jeffrey, what's your thought on Mark Richt?
If they lose to Florida, the restless natives are going to be more restless. If they win, he can go to championship game and he can leave on his own terms. Rick will not be the Georgia coach next year.
Well, how do you know that? Where did you hear that?
Same guy that told me the Georgia Tech's not going to be that good this year.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
All right.
Nikki, you're worth something, Mark Richt. Don't listen to him.
Exactly. Let's talk about that remaining schedule because, of course, the next game is Florida, but there's another couple of tough games on there.
Yeah, well, Auburn isn't one of them. That looks like a nice mattress to take a nap on. But that Kentucky game, not a sure thing with the way Georgia's pass defense is these days. I don't know about this Florida game, though. Jeffrey, what do you think? Where are you going with that?
I think Florida's going to be a 4.5-point favorite.
Yep.
And we'll pick it next week.
Oh, you're going to pick it next week? He thinks they're going to be a 4.5-point favorite around there. That sounds right to me, too. Now, I want to talk to you about the Red Pepper Taqueria and our You Be the Expert contest. And we have the names of the winners from last week. Remember, the one who wins gets a $100 gift certificate. The second place winner gets $50. And last week, the 100 and the 50 went to Stephen and Jason. Congratulations.
Congrats.
And we'll be back in just a moment as we talk some fantasy football on Football's Play to Win.
Why can't I have a slice of yours?
You're a cartoon. You can only have cartoon pizza.
It's not fair.
Look, this pie is 100% real, and you're colored ink. It's physics, man.
Well, can you buy me a beer?
I can buy you a cartoon beer. Are you single?
It's surprise.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness. Mellow mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
When you're driving a car that has a 328 horsepower engine, you might want some things, like direct adaptive steering and adaptive shift control for more precision. You'll also want a closed-off dam with pylons and a helicopter to film all your epic moves. Lease the Infiniti Q50 for $309 a month. Visit your Atlanta area Infiniti retailer.
If you've been injured, if you or a loved one have been a victim, if you've suffered, get the upper hand. Get the strong arm.
Protect your rights and get the lawyer who fights.
Today's Fantasy Report is being brought to you by SD Services. Home comfort or plumbing issues? We can fix that.
Time for fantasy football, who's hot and who's cold. And last week, of course, Adam Brown wasn't here. I gave the fans the numbers and the things you told me.
Thank you.
Hope it worked for you, but now the real deal is back. And by the way, he said he was covering the Falcons in New Orleans.
That's exactly what I was doing.
But I had him tailed, and he was doing more than covering the Falcons.
Right.
Well, let's get started. Quarterbacks.
Let's do Blake Bortles to start with this week. I like Blake Bortles. That game's in London. He's going to have a big week this week against Buffalo's defense that's depleted. And I also like Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's playing a Houston's defense that's given up 12 passing touchdowns this year. So watch out for Ryan Tannehill this week.
All right, in running backs, I noticed that you like Devontae Freeman, of course, from FSU, and Todd Gurley from Georgia.
I do like both of them. You know, Devontae Freeman's had 4 30-point fantasy games in a row, and Todd Gurley has had 305 yards rushing in the last 2 weeks, and Cleveland's given up 4 100-yard rushing games in a row.
Okay, wide receivers, Julian Edelman up at the top.
Yeah.
You've liked him all year long.
I have.
A couple you wanted to mention here.
Yeah, let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. Even though their offense is not that great, he's putting up huge numbers this year with 52 receptions so far, and Brandon Marshall with the New York Jets. The Jets' offense isn't that great, but he has 4 100-yard games in a row and 37 receptions this season so far.
Okay, my favorite part, your weekly 10, the value for your weekly games. How about it?
Let's talk about LeGarrette Blount. You know, he has 5 touchdowns this year, and even though he's sharing carries with Dion Lewis, he's the red zone back for the New England Patriots when they're pounding out finishing games. And let's look at Martavius Bryant. Martavius Bryant's first game of the season after that 4-game suspension was last week. He had 6 catches, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. When Roethlisberger comes back, it's going to be amazing what that guy can do.
All right, there you go. This is the man back from New Orleans. It looks like all the brain cells stayed in there.
Yes.
And we'll be back next week with more on Fantasy Football with Adam Brown.
Good luck, everyone.
Is your heating system blowing cold air? We can fix that. Turn to the experts at Carrier and ST Services. We've been installing and repairing heating and air systems in Atlanta for 66 years. Need to get warm? We can fix that.
There's nothing like spending a quiet afternoon with your pals. Organize an adult-appropriate activity, like a stroll through a museum. Always remain civil and mild-mannered, and never draw undue attention to yourself.
Right now, there are great deals on 2015 Kias at the 2015 Model Line Clearance Sale with 0% APR for up to 66 months, plus up to $1,500 bonus cash on 2015 vehicles like the Kia Optima, Sorento, and Soul. J.D. Power ranked the Sorento and Soul highest in their segments in initial quality, so don't miss out on this limited time offer with 0% APR for up to 66 months, plus up to $1,500 bonus cash. Visit your Greater Metro Atlanta Kia dealer today.
Bad pipes, clogs, broken water heater? We can fix that. ST's Plumbing Services, your man for all seasons since 1949, will make your plumbing problems disappear. From pesky pipes to new water heaters. We can fix that.
Today's NFL report is being brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
In the NFL this week, the Atlanta Falcons go up to Nashville to take on the Titans. Titans at 1-4, by the way, and they're going to have to try to stop the second leading rusher in the NFL, Nicky Williams, Devonta Freeman.
Did someone say Devonta Freeman?
Yes.
Yeah, the Falcons had some hard times last week with drops and turnovers. Devonta Freeman, though, solid, 100 yards and a touchdown. Like you said, ranked second in the NFL with rushing yards right now. The Titans, 21st in the league in stopping the run.
Yeah, so trouble there, and also trouble at the quarterback position because we don't know who's going to play, whether it's going to be Marcus Mariota or whether it's going to be Zach Mettenberger. Talk about those quarterbacks.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I think Zach Mettenberger, he's the number 2 for a reason. He's a backup, so he's not better than number 1, Marcus Mariota. I like playing against backup quarterbacks, Bob. Of course, they couldn't have practiced as hard. They couldn't have had as much information throughout the week and over the year. So I like the Falcons in this matchup.
Yeah, how about you, Jeffrey? Who's going to win it?
Last week, the Falcons fell into a trap against the Saints, and this game's got trap written all over it. But I'm going to give them another chance. Give it 3.5 with the Falcons.
Okay, despite the Falcons not being unbeaten anymore, they're still right in the thick of it for the NFC South, and we thought we'd break that down with the expert of experts, or at least that's what he told me. That's Matt Chernoff from 680 The Fan.
All right, thank you, Bob. As we know, the NFC South race is going to come down to 2 teams, the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. And as we sit here today, if I had to pick, I would lean towards the Panthers, and that hurts my heart. But Carolina, who already has a big-time win at Seattle, we know the Falcons and the Panthers will play the same schedule in the NFC South. So what it could come down to are the 2 head-to-head matchups with the Panthers and the Falcons. Unfortunately for Atlanta, I think the Panthers have the things that the Atlanta Falcons don't do well. They don't get after quarterbacks very well when we know Cam can move. The Panthers have a very good tight end in Greg Olsen. The Falcons don't cover that very well. And frankly, the Panthers have a front 7 that I think can give the Falcons fits. The Falcons will make the playoffs. They'll win double-digit games. But when it comes down to it, I think the Panthers are going to end up winning the NFC South, maybe with 12 or 13 wins. The Falcons with 10 or 11. They both go to the playoffs, but the matchup in my mind would favor the Carolina Panthers. That's who I think wins it. Bob Neal, back to you.
All right, Matt Chernoff, a little cleavage showing there. He's buttoning on.
He's buffing
Hey,
up.
that's my job.
Exactly. What
He's
are you
been working
doing?
out a little bit.
Don't be jumping on the roll here for Nikki. But Nikki just looks good and sounds good all the time anyway, and I'm not going to touch that anymore. I want to touch something that was really fascinating last week when the Colts played the Patriots. You probably saw that swinging gate formation that the Colts went into that just blew up in all kinds of different ways. Actually, that formation is usually called the swinging gate, and I ran it in high school back in the dark ages on a single wing team. This is a picture, a still frame of North Carolina running a successful swinging gate. Notice that the man receiving the ball is in the shotgun formation, not up behind the center, and he's going to throw a quick screen pass there, one side or the other. It scored a touchdown in this case. Here's what the professional Colts did when they ran the swinging gate. They put a non-quarterback behind a non-center with defenders right above him, and of course they came in and nailed that quarterback immediately.
He's on the line of scrimmage, taking the snap.
Exactly.
Can't
Crazy.
Can't do it.
Plus they were called for not having enough men on the line of scrimmage because the guys over at the right were lined up a yard back.
And you got to have 7 men to have a legal formation offensively, Bob.
You know, I'd fallen asleep and I woke up, that was the play it was on, and I went back to sleep. I just thought it was part of a bad dream. Yeah.
Exactly. So there you go. Again, the whole idea is to line it up quick, throw the defense off a little bit. By the way, the Colts said we were just trying to catch the Patriots in illegal substitutions. Yeah, like you're going to catch the Patriots in that? Right. Dream on, Pagano. We'll be back in just a moment as we continue with football's Play to Win. Next, the injury report.
On your mark, get set, punch it.
Get the ride of your life in the 2015 Nissan Altima. With blind spot warning and up to 270 horsepower.
What is not to love?
It's really comfortable. It fits to my body.
Nav, camera.
Choose the 2015 Altima with 0% APR for up to 72 months or save up to $37.75. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Nissan, innovation that excites.
The Wizard, can you make me real so I can eat real mellow mushroom pizza instead of cartoon pizza?
Stand back. Here we go. Alakazam! Wiggity stickity poof!
I'm still a cartoon.
Then that'd be a no.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness.
Wiggity stickity poof.
Mellow mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
We took America's best-selling car and turned everything up a notch. The Toyota Camry. What bold moves will you make? Get a low 0% APR for 60 months on a new 2016 Toyota Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
Tom, let's go. We're waiting for you outside.
Sorry, Larry. Just didn't feel the spark today. So many people that should have won but didn't play.
But this is Fantasy 5. It's even better now. There's larger starting jackpots.
And that new cash match instant win. Thanks for the pep talk.
You have got to stop bringing work home with you.
Point taken. Let's go give someone money.
You can't win if you don't play. So play the new and improved Fantasy 5, now with bigger starting jackpots and cash match.
Today's Player Medical and Injury Report is being brought to you by John Foy and Associates. Personal injury law. Get the strong arm.
All right, time for the injury and player medical report. Let's start with the NFL listing of some key injuries around the league. You'll notice there, fourth down, Marcus Mariota with Tennessee Titans has a knee. He's questionable, probably going to be a game-time decision. It seems like Dr. A, who's joining us now, of course, creator of InsideInjuries.com, seems like this time of year there's so many injuries.
You know, Bob, we should open up a hospital with a ward for each injury. That's how many injuries there are this year.
Let's get started with the player grade cards.
Absolutely. Emmanuel Sanders has been upgraded from a C to a B-. He had 2 injuries, an AC joint sprain and a hamstring strain. However, they are mild in nature, and he's upgraded to 65%. Julius Thomas, he was at a B-. Now he's staying at a B-. The rib contusion is almost as bad as a rib fracture. However, they usually heal well. There is no grade change, so he's really a low risk, not a moderate risk. Keenan Allen, He has been downgraded to a C+ at 60%. He's at a moderate risk with that hip flexor strain. Wide receivers, hip flexors, kill speed. Marcus Mariota, everyone's talking about him. Our algorithm actually has downgraded him from 80% to 65%, which actually made him from a low risk to all the way to a moderate risk at 65%. We call it the double MCL. People forget that in 2014 he had the same injury. Next athlete is Mike Vick. He has been significantly downgraded. He's had a hamstring strain, grade 2, and also another one 2 years ago. And you can't even see it, but he has 3 others in his history, and he's at 55%, which makes him high risk this week. Percy Harvin, which we have now been starting to hear news of recent retirement, but he's at an F+ at 30%, so that means do not touch. And finally, Sammy Watkins, downgraded now to a C-. He's moved from a moderate risk category to a high risk category because of that ankle sprain.
All right, Dr. A, who is the Chief Medical Officer of the Radiology Group 2 with his grade cards, and this time of year, they're very important. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Good luck.
You're going to deny everything, and if you're lying through...
When you're hurt in a car wreck, the insurance company will try anything to deny your claim.
Deny, deny, deny. Whatever it takes, we're not paying a dime.
They'll stop at nothing until they run into the strong arm.
Don't let the insurance company decide what you deserve. Call me now. I'll fight so you don't have to.
Get the upper hand. Get the strong arm. Call attorney John Foy and Associates today.
We've got unbelievable deals on our remaining 2015 inventory at Mall of Georgia, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Take $8,000 off MSRP on a Ram 1500 and pay just $24,205. During the Jeep Celebration event, get a Jeep Cherokee Limited for only $28,575. Take $4,150 off MSRP on a Jeep Renegade, yours for just $17,535. We're Mall of Georgia, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Shop for your next vehicle anytime at yourdodge.com.
The lightning round, that means Jeffrey the Ed Schechter and the picks. Let's start with the colleges and Duke at Virginia Tech.
Duke has a hard time scoring. Give the 2.5 with the Hokies at home.
Utah USC.
Southern Cal is a 3.5-point favorite. They're in disarray. They just fired their coach. And Utah's number 3 in the country. America's a great country. Only in America could that happen.
Ohio State's favored by 21.
55-7, that's enough said.
That's 55. All right, the pros. Let's start with the NFL and Jeffrey's picks. He likes these games here, and we're going to start with the Jets in New England. Look at that one.
Jets are a rough, tough team. New England gives up a lot of points. I think the Jets can hang in with New England.
You like Minnesota over Detroit?
Minnesota is solid. Solid football team. They can run, they can pass, they play defense, and they're better than Detroit.
You like Carolina to keep rolling?
As far as I'm concerned, Carolina is as good as anybody in football. Give the 3.
All right, there you go. From the man, Jeffrey the Ed Schechter. That's it for Jeffrey and Nikki and Chuck and our whole staff. This is Bob Neal. See you next week on Football's Play to Win. And go to playingtowin.tv. You can see archive shows and go to check out our You Be the Expert Challenge.
Play to Win has been brought to you by Toyota, the Georgia Lottery, and John Foy and Associates.